it's me, Bunny, still stuck over here in Bourges, France, with the witches and all. Well, anyway, some asshole just came along and stuck a microphone in my face, trying to get me to say something about podcast. Well, look, asshole, I am trying to save the world here. What makes you think I want to talk about some dumb fuck podcast? Whatever that is. Bye.
Hi, and welcome to Homage Conversations, a podcast about the residents. I am Rabbit, and I've got the rabbit habit.
I'm Cat, and I haven't seen my brother in a few weeks.
And I'm Mole, and there were 2 paintings of a clown.
And I'm Mew, and I hate fever dreams. Except sometimes I love fever dreams.
So today we are doing a project that the residents did known as the Bunny Boy. This project is from 2008, and the general idea behind it was that the residents received a tape from their old friend Roger, who affectionately or otherwise is called Bunny by some, and he was asking for help to find his missing brother named Harvey. And so, because the tapes that Bunny sent to the residents were downright incomprehensible, the residents decided to retell his story to get the message out there to more people, and retell it they did. So that retelling came in the form of an album, a web series, an album known as Postcards from Patmos, which was the soundtrack to that web series, a DVD of that web series titled Is Anybody Out There?, 2 mini albums titled Ozan and Arkansas, which together made a full album known as Ozark, a comic book, a US tour, a Euro tour, an email address, the Bunny Boy book, now released, the French Bunny Boy exhibit, which is a recreation of Bunny's secret room, still ongoing.
Which was visited by him.
Which was visited by, during a Twitch stream, so I guess that is a part of it now.
The project really started with the release of the album, as well as the first episode of the web series, which came out exactly at the same time, which was September 1st, 2008. And the album sort of hints towards the plot points in the actual video web series. And the interesting thing about the web series is that you could actually communicate with Bunny through his email address, wearedoomed666@gmail.com.
And for those that got a chance or never got a chance to back then, you just recently had the chance to.
That's true. He decided to answer some more emails in France for the exhibit going on.
Not mine.
He
He had some really interesting responses too, because I know someone they brought up how Bunny was there in France, and then the place
Notre
burned
Dame.
down. And,
Yeah, what was the place called, Rabbit?
Well, you see, I don't speak Spanish, so I can't
Gotcha.
tell you.
Oh, okay then. All
I also
right.
don't
That
speak
makes sense.
Russian.
Okay.
Anyway.
Tak точно.
Anyway,
Anyway.
he liked my bunnies, which is the most important part.
They
He seemed very excited about your bunnies. I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah.
so,
He said my question was a stupid question, which in retrospect it probably was, but I also didn't know he had to go out and save the world again, so
Yeah,
my
well,
mistake.
we'll talk about
Yeah.
that later, maybe,
Anyways.
if we remember.
someone brought up the place burned down when he got there, and I think how he responded was he just brought up that he was practicing for his show, and then he said sorry. It was completely
I'm gonna ask you
unrelated.
again. Do you know what the place is called?
Notre Dame.
There you go. I like the rolled R. The rolled R is pretty good.
Notre Dame. Can't.
Notre Dame. Okay.
Sure, we're gonna go with that one.
Dome.
So, on the topic
Dang.
of emails, essentially during the run of the original web series, the audience could guide the narrative by sending in emails, and those emails were compiled in the Bunny Boy book. And so a lot of things happened in conjunction with the web series, such as the U.S. tour, which was only a month before, which happened only a month after the premiere of the Bunny Boy web series, and it was only two weeks long. While the Euro leg was a month long and happened a bit later in the series, so the content was slightly different. And it was, I think, interestingly continuous. The tours were pretty much happening. The tours pretty much happened one after the other, from October to December of 2008. There was really no pause between the U.S. tour and the European tour. And during the tour, the residents joined Bunny in performing songs they wrote about his story. The episodes from the then ongoing web series were played during the show. As a side note, there were 66 episodes total within the web series. And the order of the tracks on the album differ greatly from the order of their relevance in the web series. So, to really delve into the plot here, we'll just have to go along with the web series and point out the songs as they appear to us.
Let's just jump into it.
Let's just jump right on in.
Let's just jump into this bad boy. The water's fine.
So we'll start off with episodes 1 through 6. And during these episodes is when we first encounter Bunny, with a really riveting first episode, I think, full of...
Yeah, he's got like just an exceptional eloquence. He's got a very strong way with words that he really demonstrates this first episode, which is what I took away from that. No, the very first episode.
No. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that foolishness starts up way later. No. I mean, the Bunny we see or hear in the first episode is unlike anything else within the Residence canon. I mean, talk about talent, beauty, poetry, breathing.
I see all these other YouTubers out there starting their videos like, "Hey, it's your boy here," but they really should be trying to copy Bunny instead, because that is how you make internet content that sticks with people.
It's like a punch in the face in the best way possible.
I mean, who's still watching Fred? Nobody. Guess how he opened his videos? Not like Bunny, that's how. And guess who's still watching the Bunny Boy? We are!
Everyone is. I mean, like, look at this. There was enough relevance to bring him back 11 years later.
And we are glad for it. I missed little bugger.
I can't wait for this episode to be 3 hours long, because we just keep doing this.
His hair looks nice and soft now.
Well, he can afford Maybelline. It was all those Oscar Mayer sponsorships. Anyways,
yeah.
So, yeah, in the first episode, he pretty much starts it out just by breathing into the microphone or the camera, whatever it may be, and finishes it, I believe, with the fact that he has a story to tell, which brings us to the first track. And hilariously enough, the first track that is made relevant in the web series is not on the original album. This is the track they open their shows with, though. It is a track titled Nobody Is Listening, and it can be found on Ozark.
And the live version, that's a banger.
Oh, the live version is such a banger.
Just like pounding drums and you got that guitar line.
Yeah.
When that guitar hits in Residence, you know what I mean? It just kind of leaves you just making noises like that, like...
It's roaring. It's a beast.
Blowing it off like soup. There's not much to say about the track other than it sounds really good. I prefer the live version to the album version, but such is life, right? Okay. So the next major plot point that comes up, well, in the web series is he shows us an answering machine. Bunny shows us an answering machine with a bunch of arrows pointed around it, and it plays a little message in which a young woman is talking about how there has been an accident and that they're in Greece. But Bunny tells us that it was his brother who got hurt in Greece, but he never came back. Very mysterious, and also the paper he has drawn arrows pointing to the answering machine on. It's just the grimiest, greasiest piece of paper on the planet. It looks completely and utterly disgusting. I mean, seriously.
The contrast is massive too. It's like the paper's like the lighter color, then you have these just really, really dark arrows on there.
I like
a lot of that stuff is.
I don't know if this was intentional, but the residents are geniuses, so I assume it is. The voice on the answering machine is sort of desperate to reach out to whoever's supposed to pick up the phone. And they say, like, is anybody there? Like, which is sort of what, like, Bunny feels later on in the series when he feels like nobody's listening to his own story. So I feel like that's sort of setting up little
the mood,
foreshadowing.
so to speak.
You know, the call becomes a plot point later, but I think that's also just a tiny little, like, foreshadowing bit. Or not, maybe it's just...
The residents love foreshadowing. Are you kidding me? Of course it's foreshadowing.
I personally think it is, just because there's a lot of seemingly irrelevant details that later become important plot points as the series goes on.
Yeah, so basically we start off this series with a big old mystery, and then Bunny tells us, you know, we'll get back to that later, but first he's got to tell us about a special place known as his secret room. And the secret room is where all of his videos are recorded, and there's also a track by the name of Secret Room, which does happen to be on the Residents Bunny Boy album.
This is the first episode that makes a direct connection to a song off of the Bunny Boy album, and considering that they premiered the same day, the album came out the same day the first episode of the web series came out, you probably have heard the entire CD by the time you got to this well, actually, I don't know, because it might have taken you a few days to get the CD. But still, at this point, it really starts, like, establishes the connection to the album. When I first watched this episode, I listened to the album first, and it kind of clicked with me, like, when the song starts playing in the web series, it just... I don't know, it made sense. It's like I don't know. It kind of, I don't know how to describe it.
And as we look more around his secret room, he tells us more about him and his life, which we will hear a whole lot more about later, but he tells us at one point in episode 5 about this one picture, about his aunt named Circe, and her best friend Ethel Ann. These names are fantastic, and there is another track that becomes relevant there that is also not on the actual Bunny Boy album. It is titled Circe. There's not much to it, but there is a track. One thing we learn about Bunny is that maybe he's not so great at computers.
Maybe. Just a thought.
I would say he's not so good at the computers.
Yeah, the computers, the internets, or the YouTubes. He seems to preface every one of these technological nouns with the. Obviously very much appreciated. I mean, he's humble. I think it's a good way to contrast Bunny himself from the whole Residents canon, you know, because the Residents themselves have made themselves known to be, you know, pretty good with technology. Bunny, on the other hand, well, he's sweet.
He's a good boy, that's for sure.
And then in episode 6, we find out some more about Bunny, and 2 pretty major tracks, I think, off the Bunny Boy album become relevant, because he tells us that when he was a kid, they used to call him the Bunny Boy. Well, that's another track. That's another track on the album titled The Bunny Boy. Hard to believe, I know, but wait, it gets worse. They called him the Bunny Boy because he just loves rabbits, and he had a rabbit named Peter when he was a kid. If you haven't gotten sick of all the bunny names from popular culture, then you will be soon. Don't worry. Rabbit Habit is a great track. absolutely timeless.
Did somebody say my name?
When I first listened to the Bunny Boy album without context of the web series, I was really confused because in my mind, Rabbit Habit sounds like what the opening track should be. But instead it's Boxes Full of Armageddon, which we'll get to.
They did put it in its proper place in Shadowland, though.
That's true.
Sounds good in Shadowland too.
But I feel like the fact that Rabbit Habit isn't the first track sort of helps you get the clue that the entire album's sort of out of order. Also, Rabbit Habit, just good song. The Shadowland version, good. The original version, good. All good.
It's all good.
Also, a small note. In episode 6, in the background, is played, the opening music. What was that? What does he call it? In episode 6, in the background, we hear the walk-in music from Demons Dance Alone playing, and that was eventually released on an album titled Maxine. That was something. And one thing I noted about these first few episodes is there's this thing Bunny does when he's telling stories. He has these stacks of photos, and he moves those photos and he progresses the stack along to tell the story. And I guess I didn't really have any point to make about that other than the fact that I think it's very interesting.
Speaking of pictures...
Pictures?
Yes,
Pictures from a little girl! This brings us to episodes 7 through 13, and the tracks found within.
Yeah, I don't remember how Pictures from a Little Girl gets established in the series, so...
I
know he gets pictures from a little girl, but I don't remember.
I remember, I was just trying to set my mind straight. If you want to tell this...
They get emailed to him, right?
Yeah, he figures out that, okay, so Bunny is telling everybody about how, they, need to get in contact with him, if anybody knows where his brother is. And he gets so mad because nobody was getting in touch with him, but he opens up his brother's computer and realizes, duh and super duh, he did not give them a way to contact him. So this is where he brings out his very famous email, wearedoomed666@gmail.com. Now this used to be Harvey's email address. So he writes it out on a piece of paper and tapes it to the screen and tries to make it look like the screen goes black, bless his heart. Has it flashing on there, and finally, people start sending emails in.
So he receives some pictures from a little girl, like the song from the album, "Pictures from a Little Girl," and like the song, they are filled with kind of scary images. I would say
a little scary, a little frightening.
Images of, I don't know, fear, terror, panic, and doom. They are really, really weird. And I think this is like some of his early email correspondences are just creepy pictures of
God knows what.
Yeah. The thing about the pictures, though, is I feel like in the song, they're like way more vividly described, and when you actually see them in the series, they're just like really scary, incomprehensible images. Like, I don't remember, seeing any of the stuff described in the song.
It was sort of like it.
It should be noted that, like, the stuff that he got in the emails weren't always, like, scary. Like, he got one email for, trying to enlarge his penis.
Don't say that you're baby. Don't say those words, you're baby.
Trying to enlarge his wee-wee.
there you go. That's not better at all. I think I hated that even more, actually.
It's no better way to word it.
So, there's an important distinction to be made here. Essentially, what it is Bunny, over the course of the web series, received about 2,000 emails. But, of course, not all of these were featured in the episodes. People could keep up regular correspondence with Bunny, but that didn't mean those were necessarily going to become a part of the plot. At least not in the direct manner that these emails are. So, we'll get back to the email point in a second, but it's worth noting that, throughout the episodes, even in these early ones, it becomes really clear that Bunny has a bit of a distaste for religion. And he seems to like or take more interest in, not necessarily believe in, the more gruesome side of the Bible.
Which is
Curious
something...
Tales.
Yeah.
You know, maybe something about daughters burning on fire and...
Yeah, they already
Wait,
did.
as opposed to daughters burning on...
They did,
Fair.
burning on acid. But they did touch on the, gruesome side of religion about 10 years before this. And that is in the form of wormwood.
Your arm's too short to box with God.
So, he's telling us about religion because he's telling us about the island of Patmos, which is where his brother Harvey went missing. And the island of Patmos is very loaded with biblical history because it contains what is known as the Cave of the Apocalypse. And so he's showing us all these postcards from Patmos, which is where the title of the album Postcards from Patmos comes from. Interestingly enough, on the postcards he's showing us, that he shows us because apparently he found them with no stamps and a bunch of crazy messages written on them. We found I think, well, he doesn't quite tell us where he found them quite yet, but there's all these insane messages written on them, and a little fun fact, the addresses on these postcards are the old addresses of Ralph Records and the various places that they've been stationed at, so I thought that was very neat.
Postcards from Patmos, by the way, is sort of the soundtrack to the web series. That when it isn't, playing songs from the normal album or Ozark and stuff, the original music written for the web series as background music. One interesting thing about it, by the way, is that apparently the residents broke out some of their old synthesizers that they hadn't used in ages because they have computers now. So it has an interesting sound to it.
It's a good thing they brought them out, too, because it sounds great.
It does.
Powerful ambient music. So back to the email thing. He gets a lot of emails, really, from a lot of people, including somebody known as Professor Niku Friku Wandolo, who says he is dying of cancer. He's a very rich Nigerian man, and needs Bunny's bank account to, transfer some funds, so that he does not die of cancer, and that he will give Bunny some of these funds as well, in thanks for the help. The problem is, Bunny does not have a bank account. So this is where another track comes into play, a track by the name of My Nigerian Friend, which, there's something so, I don't know how the residents do it, but they managed to make the classic Nigerian prince scam tragic.
Yeah, I mean, it's because you hate to see Bunny manipulated, because he's so sweet.
Yeah, so on one hand, he falls for it, which is just adorable. But on the other hand, he's so innocent. Like, he doesn't have the money or a bank account to be able to send the money to the scammer. So that's just, it's precious.
It's sad, because it's like he's he's interested in helping, but he can't send the money, so he gets sad about it. And the entire time, it's just a fake thing anyway.
The interesting thing about these sort of email-based songs of Pictures from a Little Girl and My Nigerian Friend is that both of those, to my knowledge, don't really play any significance in the overall plot of the series. Like, him being almost scammed by an email scammer isn't important to the plot. It does establish his character, but just the fact that it sort of it helps build a stronger link between the series and the album is interesting. I think that's really what those songs and those episodes sort of functionally do for the series and the album.
It does kind of show that he's not one to read between the lines. He just takes it at face value. You know, he doesn't think like maybe this is someone
trusting.
faking.
He's sweet. He's a good guy. He's a good boy.
Yeah, he doesn't have like much like issues with like manipulation and stuff. So he's thinking it's actually a prince messaging me, but I can't help him.
It's like that one line from Arthur. He's like, you really think someone would do that? Go on the internet and tell lies?
And so, life goes on, and the email thing becomes more available. And at one point, the residents add their own little outro to the end of Bunny's outros, which are a whole lot of him moving a black sheet over the camera to make it look like the sheet of paper taped to his computer screen is flashing. The residents just add a regular ending by somebody who knows how to use a computer with the email on it, which I thought was very sweet, which is the point. Now here we will move on to episodes 14 through 20. And we start off with a lot of early emphasis on Patmos, emphasis on biblical stuff. He is flipping through a book on the island of Patmos, left to him by his brother Harvey, and finds an unbroken wishbone on the inside, and a nice little link up with River of Crime there, and also a nice little link up with the album The Bunny Boy, which we happen to also be talking about, and a little track called Patmos.
Patmos, it's an island.
Well, it's an island, yeah, but it's also lost in the sun.
I believe Lost in the Sun isn't that like what, a Smash Mouth lyric? Cut that out.
don't bring Smash Mouth into this, you heathen. And at this point in the series, I don't know, for me, this is where it started to seem kind of sad, because Bunny ends up tragically repeating at the end of one episode, just saying, help me, and I was like, well, I would love to. If it wasn't about a decade ago. So that also, the residents sure do love talking about need. And in episode 12 of the web series, the Bunny Boy is going through these pictures that he found on Harvey's computer, and he sees this weird shrouded figure in the background, sort of hunched over and looking strange and solemn. And he calls him the Dark Man. Now, a little fun fact about this is that, there's another song about this.
I feel like the title of the song is The Dark Man.
That's because it is.
The key question that I really have with the Dark Man is, does he drive a dark sedan?
Oh my god.
Upcoming sequel, The Dark Man in the Dark Sedan.
Mashup, make it happen.
Residents when? Something I really enjoy about the live show is that Patmos and the Dark Man flow right into each other. I forget which order they go in, but they're paired, which I think is a nice little nod to the web series. Very neat thing. So in these episodes, Bunny seems sort of biblical himself, though it's hard to really explain why. He just seems like his existence alone has quite a bit of significance. He's very eloquent about suffering. He's talking about biblical instances of just like insane amounts of torture and pain, fear, terror, panic, doom, the whole shebang, and he seems sort of fascinated by it.
Yeah, it does support like his whole like interest in that kind of stuff. Because he's talking about it just like nonchalantly. He's like, oh yeah, these guys got tortured pretty bad.
And in episode 20, he brings in another person to implore us to help him on his search for Harvey. And it happens to be Harvey's daughter, who is sitting looking maybe the most awkward a human being has ever looked on a couch, avoiding eye contact.
Poor thing. She's so sweet.
She is so sweet. And she's sitting there on the couch feeling quite nervous about the whole affair as Bunny is telling her what to say to the camera about how she misses her dad and all that. And she starts to say it, but then she says that she can't, that it's too weird, and she just runs off. And I remember when I was watching this, my first thought was, whose child is this? Because it seems absurd.
Roger, we talked about this. You can't take children off the street anymore.
Like, I have a few comments to make about that episode. First off, I think that if you just take a frame from that episode and send it to the police, like, just that would create just chaos, because it looks just every single episode of the web series has that just grainy, disgusting filter on it. So when you have this little girl who's really nervous, and does not, oh god, it's just, it's bad vibes.
You don't even have to like take a frame. You can just send them that video without any context.
That's actually true too. The other thing is just this was the point in the series where it really grabbed my attention, because at that point it's like it's more than just some guy by himself in a room waving the camera around all weirdly. Like the fact that just another person appears, like, so it makes the series feel like so much bigger. It's like, oh, this is like, there's people. I don't know how to like. That seems kind of silly. Of course, there's other people. There's Harvey and there's the Dark Man and all these email people, but this is the first actual other human being we see, and really the first like human being whose face we fully see in the series.
And like in video, not like through a picture or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we find in the next set of episodes, 21 through 27, we open strong with Harvey's daughter being able to finally say the whole message, right? But then she seems to have second thoughts. She seems to have some regrets and mentions in a huff that he was there and that he should remember, and then immediately becomes apologetic. And it seems to have been informed that there's something that makes it so that Roger can't quite remember things as clearly as he should be able to. And then she runs off, leaving Bunny with a lot of confusion and a lot of questions. And so one thing about this little girl is that if you pay attention to her demeanor, and to the way she talks overall, you will find that she is quite familiar. I know that she's on Demons Dance Alone. She might be on Animal Lover, I wouldn't doubt that, but in terms of acting, she shows up again for Randy's Ghost Stories from Talking Light, playing the role of Florence's best friend for that story. And again on Shadowland for the Shadow Stories, playing the diver. So,
I knew her voice sounded familiar.
yeah, that's what was going on there, in case you were curious. Yeah. So she's been in the game for a while. So with this, we find out, this is our first inclination to really, really believe that maybe all is not as Bunny tells it. I mean, of course, he gives us the impression that he is a well-informed but ultimately unreliable narrator, but we have no way to corroborate this. And so, Harvey's daughter gives us she gives us the beginnings of doubt. But it's an incomplete picture nonetheless. She's proof that the residents can predict anything, even child YouTube stars.
Oh, God.
Horrifyingly enough.
I think that might be why it makes me uncomfortable, is because it reminds me of that.
Yeah. On episode 23, we see the infamous bunny costume, because some teenager named Shinette told him that his story was interesting and all, but he could use some entertainment value to really get his message out there, and so he follows that lead, and then,
For better or for worse.
he gets that bunny suit, and it just looks dirty. It looks really, like the rest of the series does, which is to say grimy and like it stinks.
It has a nice hat, too.
It does. It has a nice little hood to go along with it.
He also explains the reason he's wearing it in the live show, like the same way he explains it in the series.
I mean, he's got a good point. It is very entertaining. I feel more inclined to listen to somebody who's wearing a bunny suit than I am to listen to somebody who isn't, so who's to say that it's not the right choice?
Even when he's just wearing the ears, it looks awesome. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, I want to listen to this guy. Like those other guys, they don't have bunny ears, but this guy does. He's got it. And they're hanging down, too. They're not, like, standing up.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So episodes 24 through 25, and by that I mean 24 and 25, very abruptly, Bunny hops off on a U.S. tour. Like, okay. And we see on the signs he's holding up when he's asking us if he should do it, that his spelling skills are just extraordinary.
Stellar.
If you got to
Spelling
email him,
bee champion.
if you got to email him, you got to like see exactly what we're talking about.
He gets his
Mole
message
and
across.
Mew, you both got emails from Bunny.
He actually did not respond to mine.
Oh,
Well, he responded to mine. I emailed Bunny recently when the inbox was reopened. If you could have endless free hot dogs with mustard for life, but you could never go back to your secret room, would you do it? And he said, well, no. Hot dogs are nice and all, but I have to save the world, which, fair.
Did you
He
say-
actually answered my email on stream, which I thought was great.
Didn't he add a little comment about your question?
Yeah, he did say that was a dumb question. Which, ouch. I mean, but ultimately, beggars can be choosers.
He's an open-minded, or no, he's an open speaker. He'll say what he thinks, really.
He speaks his mind, and for that, we have to love him. After this, he tells us a little bit about his brother Harvey, and there's some real Honey Bear vibes going on. Honey Bear is in the track Honey Bear off of the album Demons Dance Alone. Some of those vibes going on with his telling of Harvey's life story about how he was this big old dude on the football team, and yeah, had a cheerleader girlfriend and all that, and he's very successful. And he tells us it's hard for us to understand what it's like to be the brother of the golden guy. Which is another track on the album The Bunny Boy. And I love to watch him fly in the golden sky.
The golden guy, I feel, at the track is, until you actually hear Bunny say that Harvey was, a golden guy, like, I was not able to, like, think about, like, what this song could even be about. Because it's a very abstract song versus, like, something like The Dark Man or Secret Room, where it's basically telling...
Exposition.
Yeah, it's basically kind of telling the story in song form, but the golden guy is just talking about some golden guy who we don't know who it is. And I was thinking maybe the golden guy would be like like the opposite of the dark man, but it turns out that it just...
I mean, I think an argument could be made for that.
I mean, actually, that is true. But I thought the golden guy would be some sort of mystery and not a song about, sibling rivalry.
It definitely is kind of, like the way it is, like if you took it out of the Bunny Boy, it could still work on its own. Because it doesn't name him like Harvey. It just says, this guy was a big winner.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, without the context, you don't really know what the song's about. I mean, you could say that basically about any of the songs on the album, but there's a little bit of narrative in each song to help you understand. Like, My Nigerian Friend, you would be able to at least kind of understand it, because that's a well-known, like, scam email cliche. Yeah. But the golden guy is just, you don't know that that's about, like, him being jealous of his super successful brother Harvey. You just know that there's this guy who wished French champagne.
Yeah, the way it's written, it doesn't encourage you to go look.
It stands on its own as a pop song, I would say.
Really, really interesting sounding pops.
Yeah, and we do get back to the sibling rivalry in episodes 28 through 34, but first we take a quick detour, but with a quick offhanded phrase, I'm not crazy, which Bunny says when explaining the increasingly convoluted plot to us, and for some reason we believe him. It is also the name of a track, which does contain more information about the sibling rivalry in and of itself. Talking about how his brother Harvey was the one who, how his brother Harvey was the one who came undone and had to run away.
It is kind of aggressive, too. Because it's like...
Oh, yeah.
It's like, the people are thinking, like, yeah, this guy's crazy. And then he's kind of biting back by saying, I'm not crazy, he's the crazy one. And it's definitely kind of it's almost like a really vague attack on his brother, almost.
But it ends with a strange little line saying that everyone is crazy, but no one knows that everyone is crazy in a one-man show. Which, like, hold up. Everybody hold up. A new theory has entered the scene that Bunny and Harvey are the same person?
Say what?
But that's not possible, because on the next episode, or in the next major plot point, is these two clown paintings. One of them depicting a smiling clown, and the other one depicting a frowning, sad, droopy clown. A clown with class. I couldn't resist, I'm sorry. Yeah. And this is a track that is also on Arkansas, titled Two Clown Paintings. But then, it doesn't seem like we can quite dispel that theory that Bunny and Harvey are the same person, because the lyrics state that Bunny's talking about the paintings, and he says, it was just me and another ego upside down, which, like, what? But in the episode he tells us essentially to guess who was the happy clown. The one who got all the breast meat, not as that's not
gonna
an
lie to
innuendo.
you. I literally for a second I thought you were gonna say breast milk. And I was like, what?
I remember.
Cat, invite me into your reality. Let me in.
So the clown paintings to me, it sort of might suggest that they're two different people. On the other hand, that sort of duality between that image of a happy face and a sad face together sort of may suggest that maybe Bunny and Harvey are just two sides of the same coin. Or not. I don't know.
Kind of almost kind of a vague hint of, mental disorders.
Well, that's also true.
He's not crazy, remember?
By the way, about I'm Not Crazy, I just want to point out this thing that in the lyrics to I'm Not Crazy, the song, he talks about a little bit about Harvey, and they use the same rhymes that they use in the song from everyone's favorite album, Duck Stab, in the song Elvis and His Boss. They do amused, abused, and confused in the same order. I just thought that was a little fun.
Life at first.
I actually just
callously abused him, leaving him confused him. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I literally just noticed that because I was reading along to the lyrics while we were talking about it. I was like,
oh,
hey.
Bunny, you self-referential motherfucker. I love you. So we move on from that, and in episode 34, he shows us something. Wait, not episode 34, sorry. In the episode following the two clown painting episode, he shows us something really special to him. A model of a butcher shop he made for science class in, like, the 5th or 6th grade, that he didn't get a good grade on because apparently a butcher shop doesn't have anything to do with science, which is anatomy. And there's a track about that, of course, on the album. It is titled Butcher Shop, and Bunny's telling us all about how he wanted to be a butcher, and his logic seems pretty solid. When he was a little boy, he didn't have a dad, so he became so he built a miniature butcher shop instead.
That's what I do when I'm upset with my dad.
You have a dad?
Do I?
Never mind.
So the thing about Bunny was, for some reason, he really idolized the concept of being a butcher. He wanted to be one, a jolly butcher.
Why doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
And in Shadowland, you find out another butcher isn't too happy with Bunny.
Would you say that Bunny didn't say he was sorry? And Bunny didn't ask to be excused?
So we move on from the butcher shop thing. I mean, it's just a little blip in this timeline overall, but it's interesting how often the residents are looking at butchers. And speaking of looking at things, Bunny opens up, he's got some folders to show us, and he was going through some of Harvey's weird stuff and finds a folder full of pictures of people looking in mirrors. And
would you say they're, mirror people?
The mirror people!
And so once again, we see the residents' fascination with mirrors and reflections and
doubles
so on and so forth.
and duality.
Here's the theory I'm about to posit. This entire thing, the residents was in entirety, has been one big project about duality and stuff. Boom.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Figured
that
it
could
out.
totally be true, right? Because the residents are always sort of existing as a reflection of the world in some way or another.
That actually kind of makes sense, because there's like always those theories of like, oh yeah, the early stuff was based on making fun of pop music.
And it wasn't, but that's
it was
getting
just
in the
drug-fueled
direction
nightmares.
of what they were doing.
They made it.
Yes. And there's some other cool, crazy stuff in the folders. Bunny is pulling out for us, including some crazy person drawings, which really just look nice. They're beautiful pieces of artwork, although they are still somehow on the greasiest paper known to man. I have to assume he gets his paper exclusively from a butcher shop. It's fine. Who am I to complain? And
the drawings are really nice, though.
They are nice. And at the end of the stack of pictures in the folder of people looking in mirrors, he finds an image of a dead rabbit, which very much disturbs him. And so he freaks out, and when you see him again, he's wearing a bunny mask in addition to his regular attire, and he has burnt up the bunny picture, the dead bunny picture, and put it in a tuna can so that the bunny's memory may be forever held there, and it may finally rest in peace. So, with that, let's just move on to episodes 35 through 41. Things are really starting to pick up.
The ball is rolling.
And it is rolling rapidly downhill faster and faster, which is fine with me. And it needs to be fine with everybody else, because he's gonna tell us all about his brother Harvey's boxes of Armageddon. So this is the first track on the album, which is kind of hilarious considering how late this plot point appears in the series. So his brother Harvey has these old, weird cardboard boxes full of truly disturbing materials. Just, they're full of fiction and reflections of insanity. And so in there, he's finding newspaper clippings and torn up pictures of Harvey, and these seem to really, things seem to be really changing in Bunny's mind. I think at this point, he's burning up pictures and putting the ashes in tuna cans, which may or may not be out of line for his character. I mean, who am I to say? But as this couple of episodes moves along, we seem to realize that Bunny might be a little bit disturbed. He's telling us about these weird dreams. These weird dreams he has, dreams that he kills his brother Harvey. And there's a track about that, of course. It's titled "I Killed Him," in which Bunny talks about some weird thing he calls a Harvey death dream, because I guess he has these frequently enough to remember them. But it's where he has Harvey tied to a chair, and there is a vacuum cleaner with a hose attached to it that is then taped to Harvey's mouth, and there's a timer, and once the timer goes out, it'll suck all the air out of Harvey's lungs like some sort of bizarre Rube Goldberg machine.
It's disturbing.
It is really disturbing.
I was like, oh, damn!
Like, okay, dude, we get it. You didn't have such a great relationship with this dude.
It's not like the generic, like, oh yeah, choke him or like stab him or something like that. No, it's pretty in there.
And the thing about it is, like, in the song, he specifically talks about how this is his favorite Harvey dream, as in, like, he's enjoying this. It isn't just
he's
a random dream of morbid curiosity. It's like, this is intentional, and he's happy when he has these dreams.
And in a little comic thing too, there was one where he put him in a meat grinder, turned them into sausages, and gave them to who else but Donald Trump.
I think my favorite Harvey death dream was the one where he locks Harvey in a basement and fills it up with potato salad.
Well, as much as I'd like to continue talking about potato salad and Donald Trump, we've reached the end of part 1 of our two-parter on the sweet, sad saga of the Bunny Boy. Join us for part 2, where we'll be talking about fever dreams in Arkansas and all sorts of fun assorted things like rabbits and bunnies and hot dogs and tater tots. So we will see you soon. Keep hopping down that bunny trail, and remember, we're not crazy.